the plane ride and the bus ride were very long. So actually, I think they have plane rides just straight to the Cauayan mission, which is great. But even then, it's a long ride. I mean, you take from Utah to different stops. Eventually, you arrive in the Philippines, and it's a more or less 14-hour trip. And then sometimes you even take another ride. For us, it was another 10-hour bus ride, and that can be a little dizzying. We kind of got off the plane and we just didn't know where to look. We hadn't taken a shower and we just weren't feeling great. But I think we were all excited to actually get into the field. We were kind of having an introduction to our mission for the longest time, for 9 weeks in the MTC. It's 6 weeks now, but even every week that goes by, you just want to get on with it. You want to go in the field, do something about it. And we were just very excited. And so even though it was long and difficult to get there, ultimately it was just kind of we kind of reaching a climax to where it was our I don't want to say our tensions, but our excitement was rising, and it was a good experience. And I've never done that ride again except coming back. So just saying that I traveled the world on a plane is kind of interesting. First memories of the rest of my life, I remember thinking this is going to be my life for 2 years, and it was kind of difficult to think that. I did go to school for a year before serving, so it was nice to have that buffer of not being at home. But still being in a new culture, being in a new situation. Arriving in Manila, it's very, very packed, very tight. Traffic everywhere. And I love how they have little stickers on the back of these jeepneys, which is their mode of public transportation. It's kind of like a public bus. And it says, "Ask me how my driving is going," and then it has a number on the bottom. And then they're all intertwined together, and there's no traffic lights or anything. I thought it was funny and ironic. That was our first experience. It was beautiful seeing the Manila Temple. Arriving to my mission itself after the bus ride, or the plane ride, that is today, is a little suspenseful. We were all kind of anticipatory, a little anxious as to who would be our trainers. Would they be foreign? Would they be American? Never know. We were really curious. First impressions of the mission, and I remember it being really just a kind of a haze, with excitement, with anxiety, which is normal. It's normal and it's healthy, I think, to have a little anxiety about something that you care about. I remember sitting down in the pews with the rest of my district from the MTC and those who came with us, and we were all just quiet, dead quiet. Normally would be talking, joking around, but there was just kind of a very thick feeling of what's going to happen next. And so I was the last one to be called, actually. And so that feeling just built up every time one of my companions or one of my constituents or peers got called and went in the back and sat with their companion. And I'm just like, did they forget about me? All these things are going through my mind. And finally, they call my companion. He is Filipino, native Filipino. And he comes forth. Actually, he doesn't come forth. He gets pushed forward by the rest of the missionaries, just because he I find out later, was actually really nervous about training an American. It just goes to show, people to people, when they're not used to a different culture, you're nervous, and you kind of have to understand that. I understood that. He wasn't the best at English, but he did try. That's one thing about most of my companions and the culture in general, is that they're very generous, very nurturing, and they'll try to help you as much as they can. I remember my companion doing great things for me. He'd translate songs for me, just some way that I could learn the language. He just was willing to help. He was probably one of the greatest in my life, one of the greatest examples of charity. And just those few hours with him were just very nerve-wracking again. We didn't talk a lot. I tried to talk in the limited Tagalog that I had. How was your day? How was the weather? Where are you from? What do you want to eat? And then it was done. I was just like, what else am I going to say? I don't know what to say. And so I kind of like slip in English, what we call Taglish. You slip in English, you slip in Tagalog. And then it just became English. I didn't know what to say. I was just like, well, kind of reached an impasse. I don't really have anything else. Shells in my artillery of vocabulary in Tagalog. And so we get on a van, which is another form of transportation for more rural areas, which holds about, I'd say about 15 people, a good 15 amount of people, but they always squeeze in about 21. And that was my first experience with that. where people are constantly popping your like personal space bubble. And I had way too much luggage. I had, I think, 2 huge duffel bags, very large, each weighing about like, I don't know, 60 pounds. Ridiculous. 60, 65 pounds, and then a small duffel bag that had like all my toiletries and everything. My mother packed for me. I'm not gonna lie. And there was like toiletries that would last a year to a year and a half. Like toothbrushes, I had like 20 toothbrushes. You don't need that. Don't ever. Just take it as much as you can, and they'll have things there. They'll have toothbrushes. They'll have shampoo. Like they're not that wanting. They have stuff there. They have necessities. Anyway, they couldn't fit any of my luggage on the van, so I was thinking that, oh no, what am I going to do? Am I just going to have to pass out all these like toothbrushes to all the kids on the road and like, other people? And they eventually found a way. I mean, they're very intuitive, they use their ingenuity to find out a way. They tied my luggage down to the van with rope, and almost dragged it the whole way to my area. But anyway, that was, as far as culture shock for the first few days, it was positive. Shocking, I say, would be the best adjective to describe my first few days there. But I was excited, and my companion was doing the best he could. That in a nutshell is pretty much my first experience with the Philippines.